Hello, 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 gorgeous. Welcome to this video where we are looking into the astrological insights of the year ahead 2024. I am so excited about this. This is one of my favorite topics, forecasting energy. I'm Ashley Rose, astrologer, human design reader, and also womb healer. And welcome to my channel. If this is your first time, and if you're a returning subscriber, so good to see you. Mwah, love you so much. Okay, so super excited for this presentation today. We're going to be looking into the major astrological transits of 2024 and learning how we can best use them in both our personal lives and also looking into how they're going to impact the collective. I'm taking a quarter by quarter look at these major transits. We're looking at January through March. Pluto actually just entered Aquarius. I'm filming this the week after January 20th, Pluto moved into Aquarius. This is massive. You might have even heard about this yourself, but Pluto only changes signs once every 20 years. And so the fact that it changed signs just in January 20th, we're already feeling that shift in the collective, and we'll dive deep, deep, deep into what that means for you and for everyone else. Saturn-Neptune conjunction. This is a long form conjunction of two outer planets, Saturn and Neptune. And actually, they go exact next year, I believe, as far as conjunct. But the orb between them gets closer and closer and closer starting from March of this year. We're going to start feeling that. So I want to talk about that, what that means. We have a Libra full moon eclipse coming up on March 25th. And then looking at Q2, April to June. We have an Aries new moon eclipse on April 8th. We're going to talk about how that's going to impact us as a collective. We have Jupiter conjunct Uranus, super exciting, happening on Earth Day, April 20th or 21st, depending on where you are in the world. And then Jupiter entering Gemini on May 25th. Q3, we're going to be looking at the Pisces eclipse on September 17th or 18th. And then October to December, we're looking at Q4, the Libra new moon eclipse on October 2nd, and Mars retrograde in Leo and Cancer on December 6th. The one thing I wanted to say is that, especially if you're watching this in 2024, perhaps you are feeling the energy already. 2024 has such a different energy to the years that we've had previously, from 2020, 2021, 2022, and on. 2024, honestly, and we're going to talk more about this throughout this presentation, but 2024 really feels like an uplifting, a breath of fresh air. We have a lot of newness happening. We have planet shifting signs. We just have a lot of fresh new energy compared to some of the energy that we've been in. Honestly, I feel like since 2020, we've still been in the shadow of 2020 and what happened collectively then. And 2024 finally feels like the first turn in the road of, okay, we're out of that energy and we're into something new. I'd love to hear your opinion about this. Do you agree? Does 2024 feel new and fresh to you? Are you ready for everything that 2024 is bringing? Are you a bit nervous about what 2024 is bringing? I'd love to hear more of what you're thinking in the comments. Okay, so Q1 again, January to March. Pluto enters Aquarius. We're going to deep dive into what that means. We're going to look at that Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Pisces, and then the Libra full moon eclipse on March 25th. Let's dive right in. Okay, Pluto entered Aquarius on January 20th. This is huge. Shout it from the rooftops. I mean, again, Pluto only switches signs once every 20 years or so. And so Pluto has been in Capricorn pretty much since the turn of the century. And Pluto in Capricorn was such a transformative energy for the collective. When you think about what Pluto means, Pluto represents power and transformation. And then you think about Capricorn, and that's the archetype of the goat, climbing the mountain, greatest of all time, getting to the top. And some themes that represent Capricorn are financial markets, political parties, corporations. And so you combine that with Pluto, which is power and transformation, you see that something like corporations gain the most power ever over the last 20 years. Corporate power has been consolidated and concentrated in the last 20 years in ways we've never seen before in human history. That's a Pluto and Capricorn signature. Also thinking about the rise in political parties and even the rise in tension. For instance, I'm here based in the United States. The tension between the two main parties has just increased in the last 20 years. There used to be much more middle ground as far as politics in this country. And now it's very, you're either right or you're left, you're progressive, you're conservative. It's very black and white. I'd say that's another kind of element of this Pluto and Capricorn energy that we've been under for the last 20 years. Again, you think about the financial markets, and we've had some of the biggest, financial upturns and downturns since the last 20 years, especially if you are an investor and you invest in the stock market, personally what the market's been doing over the last 20 years. Again, that's all Pluto and Capricorn energy. Now we're moving into Pluto and Aquarius, and to me, this screams power to the people. Aquarius represents the people. Aquarius is all about individuality and freedom and true authenticity, science, innovation. And again, Pluto is power and transformation through these Aquarius themes. That's what we're going to be seeing over the next 20 or so years. And I really want to bring in this whole idea of, while under Pluto and Capricorn, maybe there was a rise in corporate power or government power or corporate structure. Pluto in Aquarius, we're going to be seeing a rise perhaps in individual power, or at least the power of people as a collective, because Aquarius also represents communities and networks of people. It also literally represents things like the internet, social media. So you can expect to see a wild ride of transformation with some of these topics over the next 20 or so years. As far as major themes you really want to be looking out for: the powerful influence of technology. Again, it's 2024 as I'm presenting to you here. We already see technology as being completely integrated into our lives. You're probably watching me on your cell phone or your laptop, but I kid you not, the way that technology is going to be integrated into our lives by March 8th, 2043, we're going to look back here to this year, 2024, and we're going to think that we literally lived in the olden days. This is going to be the olden days. In 2 years' time, it's over. Technology is going to be more innovative, more advanced, and even more deeply integrated into our lives. Also, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up this whole idea of us moving into the age of Aquarius. Some people say that the age of Aquarius started kind of in, the late 1960s with the counterculture movement. And also, some people are saying that this latest ingress of Pluto into Aquarius, this is what is really ushering in the final age of Aquarius, right? We're finally here. This is a 2,000-year cycle. And this is what is going on right now. We just exited the age of Pisces, which began around, 0 BC. And now at 2000, we're entering the age of Aquarius. And people are saying that Pluto entering Aquarius is kind of one of the major final planetary movements, planetary motions, really bringing in this new energy. Something else that we want to think about as far as themes: information warfare or control, including possible government suppression of information and censorship attempts. Again, I'm not saying this to scare you. A lot of this is already occurring. We already have government control of information in countries such as China, things like that. We already have, control of the flow of information. We already have censorship of books here in the United States. It's a hot topic right now, censoring books at school, things like that. We already have these things. What I'm saying here is that these things might become even more front and center as Pluto has entered Aquarius this month and over the next 20 or so years. Technological breakthroughs. Again, this is going to be massive. I, think about that old cartoon, The Jetsons, and they had flying cars and, there's sci-fi shows with space travel and things like that. And I think, are we going to have space travel by the time Pluto exits Aquarius in 2043? Are we going to be like teleporting ourselves at the, snap of a thumb? Who knows? Honestly, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see what happens. That said, science and ethics might be a tension that we are noticing over the next 20 years as well. There might be a tension between curiosity and scientific advancement versus caution, right? This makes me think of, perhaps we get the technology to decide what our children are going to look like, the color of their eyes, the curl in their hair, how tall they are. Maybe we get that technology, but is it right? Is it ethical? Is it correct to mass produce things like that? Who knows? I think those are the major questions we're going to be grappling with. I know AI is a big one that's already on the scene with deciding, what's moral. Kids are using AI to write school papers, and people are using AI to, write their social media posts and all these things. And I think that we're going to continue to see these conversations front and center as far as the correct role that AI has in our lives versus what we might think be pushing the bounds of morality. And then finally, just globalization and its related challenges and progress. We're already a very global society. We're going to become even more global. Even you yourself, you might be watching me here in another country. You might be in a different time zone. Globalization is going to continue marching forward, and it's going to continue also to be experiencing bottlenecks and challenges and barriers to do so. Something I also did want to mention is that beginning a few years ago, some of my favorite astrologers, one in particular, Astrolata, I love you, she began talking about this idea that we might be seeing a separation in society moving into the future where there are some people living in the cities. And now I'm starting to hear the term smart cities come up, where people are in the cities and the cities become almost, maybe overrun is not the correct terminology, but the cities become almost overrun with technology. Maybe, you use your fingerprints to go shopping at the grocery store. I've already seen that happening at Whole Foods. Maybe that becomes even more of a thing. We become a cashless society. Maybe your eyes get scanned before you can enter a building. Maybe things are decided by your credit score. Who knows? If you've seen Black Mirror, you know that some of those things are already happening in certain countries. That might become even more widespread in the cities. And so there might be a conscious uncoupling, conscious communities deciding to leave the city, people who feel that they are more connected to the land, to Mother Earth, to nature, to plants, to the animals, to clean water and clean soil. There might be a resurgence of people saying no to the advancement of technology like that and saying yes to nature, and therefore a moving of people to more rural areas. And honestly, when I first heard this message a few years ago, I really resisted it because it scared me. This idea that, conscious people would be moving out of the cities into the woods, and then everybody else would be in the cities and be living like robots. That really scared me. Now already that we're even just a few years closer to this idea, I see now that it's not an either or, it's likely a both and. Maybe people are living in the cities, but they make a greater effort to connect to nature. They go on retreats, they spend time in nature when they can. Maybe it even almost becomes like a privilege to be able to visit nature if you're living in the cities, and vice versa. And also you must remember that even the people living outside of the cities, they'll still have access to technology. They'll still have the Wi-Fi and the Teslas and all the things that we have now. But I do think that people are going to be asked to choose and be more intentional of if they are more on like the nature side of things, the natural side of things, being in communion and being stewards of Mother Earth and plants and animals, or if they are going the more techie route and don't mind being a part of the system where literally like anywhere can scan your eyeballs and know who you are. You know what I'm saying? So again, you heard it here first. I'm super excited to see these trends and where they're going. Another thing I'll say as far as business, if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner or even a coach or something like that, I think this Pluto in Aquarius is also going to be just really amazing for entrepreneurs. Aquarius is not really a corporate sign. It's more of an entrepreneurial sign. And so I really think that more power, how corporations gain power under Capricorn, I really do see the chance for entrepreneurial type of businesses and ideas and innovations to really gain power over the next 20 or so years under this Pluto and Aquarius transit. You can see how excited that makes me. And let's go to the next. Okay, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. I'm so excited for this one. So a conjunction is when two planets get close to each other in the sky as far as where they are, right? And so this conjunction really starts when Saturn and Neptune are getting within 15 degrees of each other in the sky as far as the constellations are concerned. So for the next 3 years, Saturn and Neptune are going to be very close to each other in the sky, kind of having a bit of a cosmic dance together. They're both currently in the sign of Pisces. That's my sign. So both Saturn and Neptune right now are impacting me in my 4 Pisces placements. I'm an Uber Pisces. And they're going to join with each other and move into the sign of Aquarius, which is the next sign, the first sign of the zodiac, together. And actually, there's going to be a conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries in February 2026. And this is going to be massive. This is when the planets are going to be exactly aligned in the sky. We have some time, but either way, we're already counting now for March 2024 because the planets are getting close enough to each other to start impacting each other and to start making some energetic changes and transformations here on Earth. So let's talk about what that might mean. So Saturn as an archetypical energy, Saturn represents structure. Saturn represents discipline, effort, also restriction and control. Neptune is the exact opposite type of archetype. Neptune is about dissolving boundaries, whereas Saturn is about maintaining boundaries. Neptune is about illusion and even delusion, while Saturn is all about reality and what's true. Neptune is all about what you can't see. It's about intuition. It's about the dream world. It's about subtle energies and even life beyond the veil. You know, Neptune is this dreamy, spiritual, ethereal energy. Again, Neptune ruling over Pisces. And then Saturn is this very like what you see is what you get, hard work, reality, 3D energy. When the two planets come together, things happen because they are completely different energies, okay? What we've seen historically, what astrologers can do is look at when these conjunctions have happened previously in the past over history, and then they can make predictions for what might happen now, given what patterns we've seen and what themes we've experienced in previous times and ages. So the last time Saturn and Neptune were conjunct, it was in 1989. I believe this was in the sign of Capricorn. The Berlin Wall fell the last time Neptune and Saturn were conjunct. There were riots in Tiananmen Square. It was the beginning of the end of South African apartheid, which formally began in 1990, 1 year later. So a lot of massive world events on a very political scale occurred the last time Saturn and Neptune were conjunct together. Again, I believe that was in the sign of Capricorn. I'm not sure. I'd have to check. I'm pretty sure. That said, Capricorn is an extremely political sign. That's probably why we saw a lot of political energy emerging. However, we can start to get some themes about what will happen this time. But again, keeping in mind that Saturn and Neptune are now conjunct in Pisces and then Aries instead of Capricorn. So some major themes that we might want to watch for between now and 2027. Conflicts between religion and science. Saturn representing religion and orthodoxy and the old way of doing things. Neptune representing religion and spirituality, and Saturn being science, the 3D world, right? We might see, and people say conflicts. I personally think science and religion are the same thing. Okay, I think a lot of what science is doing is figuring out some things religion already knows. Even if you are looking at disciplines like Reiki and things like that. I remember talking to someone recently about how, you know, someone that knows Reiki can put their hand over your body and they can like feel and understand like where you might have an injury. Let's say you've sprained your ankle and the Reiki person can feel it. And now we're actually learning that scientifically that might be happening because something to do with like the amount of water in your hands and it interacts somehow with the wounded body part. And that's like how the Reiki person knows. Again, I'd have to look into that science. I'm sure I totally butchered that, but either way, science is figuring out what the gurus and the yogis and everyone have known forever. Same thing, you know, we're learning about the science of meditation and the science of manifestation and quantum physics and all these things that we've talked about for thousands of years in the Bible and the Quran and the Vedas, and now science is just catching up. So I don't really see this as a conflict. I see this more as like a marriage between science, which is Saturn, and then religion, which is Neptune. So there might be tension here between opposing political parties. Again, Neptune might be impacting those of us on the left, people who are super progressive and people who are just wanting more idealism and more love and more, universal oneness. And then maybe some other people are wanting to close borders and become more strict and stringent. And so we're just going to see some very different ideals maybe coming to a head. Even with the US presidential election coming up this year later in the United States might be one way this energy is expressing itself. Really two opposing forces really not meeting in the middle at all. There might be a big push again, separating truth from fantasy. This whole idea, even of fake news. I know that kind of came out and became a theme around the 2016 US presidential election. We might see those kind of thoughts and ideas coming up again about fake news. Is what is being reported true? Or is it being doctored? AI now can create pictures that aren't really there. And AI can use voice recognition, and you could see a video of me, what seems like me, saying something that sounds like me, but it's actually not me because we have the technology to do this now. Things like that might be happening more and more and more under the Saturn Neptune influence, really needing to decide, what's reality and what's illusion. And there also might be a bit of collective disillusionment with some things, maybe politics, maybe government, something else. And again, this need somehow to separate truth from fantasy, even in your own life. This might be people really getting taken down, the path of fake gurus or things like that happening, and then getting a hard reality check come May 2027. Something like that could be happening for someone in their personal life. So again, just have a thought about some of these archetypes and how this might be impacting you, and also watching how it might be impacting the world on a collective stage. Okay, and then finally, rounding out Q1 of 2024, we have the Libra full moon eclipse on March 25th. I love eclipse season. Eclipses are a time of fated events, destiny, change, transformation, often unexpected. This is what eclipses bring. And this Libra full moon eclipse that is occurring, it's near the south node of the moon. And again, every eclipse deals with either the north node or south node of the moon. This is actually what makes an eclipse. The nodes of the moon is what actually causes eclipses to happen. But the fact that this Libra full moon eclipse is happening near the south node of the moon means that it's going to have themes of letting go or release. The south node is all about letting go and releasing, and the north node is about bringing things in. So some major themes we might see. Libra is all about relationships. Libra is all about, the self versus the other, and almost how we mirror and project our own understanding of ourselves and the world around us through the relationships that we have with people on a one-to-one basis. So this Libra full moon eclipse, you might be letting go of some relationships or some friendships, or maybe it's not as literal as that. Maybe the way this moon expresses in your life in March is letting go of old relationship dynamics or old ways of being and making space to create new relationship dynamics and new ways of being. Maybe you're releasing old stale relationship patterns that you've gotten into. Maybe you're needing to have some conversations with a friend, a loved one, and just talk about some of these things. And there also might just be general, more internal, like letting go of people pleasing that happens within you. This full moon eclipse in Libra is happening opposite the Aries North Node. Aries is all about the self and what you want and being independent, the opposite of people pleasing. And so maybe under this Libra full moon, that's something that we're asked to be letting go and to be working on, is this need to people please. Okay, and so honestly, something else I wanted to bring up is just remembering the dates here. This is kind of right after the spring equinox. This year, the spring equinox is on March 19th. That is when spring is happening, or autumn equinox if you are in the southern hemisphere. So we'll just have had a new season of spring or new season of autumn occur, and then it's kind of tipped off and triggered by this Libra full moon eclipse. Okay, so that just means that even the equinox seasons are going to be charged with this full moon eclipse energy. So I expect that, Libra is a gentler, a softer sign, but it can bring discord in relationships. So again, around the equinox this year, just have a think back to this video and see if any of these themes are coming up for you. Okay, Q2 of 2024. We have an Aries new moon eclipse on April 8th. So right after that Libra full moon eclipse, we have another eclipse on April 8th. Eclipses generally always occur in pairs, of course, because of those nodes of the moon. We have Jupiter conjunct Uranus, April 20th, 21st, and then we have Jupiter entering Gemini on May 5th. Let's dive right in. Okay, the Aries new moon eclipse on April 8th. Personally, I'm so excited for this one. I have an Aries moon. I love Aries eclipses. They can be spicy though. I'm not going to lie to you guys. An Aries new moon eclipse can be spicy. Okay. Aries is a fire sign. Aries likes what it wants, when it wants it, right now. Aries is the baby of the zodiac. It's the first sign. It's that springtime energy of flower shoots coming out of the ground, bunnies hopping around. There's lots of energy in an Aries eclipse, okay? And sometimes that can be directed in a very me way. Personally, again, I love that type of energy. It can be a lot though, okay? Another thing to note about this eclipse, it's being called the Great American Eclipse because this year, this eclipse is going to be tailing over the US, Canada, and Mexico. So if you are in any of those countries, you actually are going to be in the pathway of the eclipse, as they call it, and you might be able to see the eclipse with your naked eye in the sky. How exciting is that? Okay, the major theme that we're looking at with this eclipse on April 8th is really thinking about what makes us happy. Now, what makes our best friend happy or our partner happy or our boss happy? What makes us happy in our lives? Some major themes that are going on. Ambition and drive might be an all-time ultimate high at this point of the year. Your quest for independence and just doing what you want to do could be super high. Focusing on yourself, your goals and your dreams, almost having a laser focus on what you are building in your life could be a massive theme around this eclipse. This energy of striving, all of that. And again, this is all in springtime, right after that equinox that happens on March 19th. So there's a newness, a new energy in the air. And this eclipse really just ramps that up to an even higher level. I'm so excited. I personally cannot wait to see what kind of energy this Aries new moon eclipse brings. And if you're excited for this too, go ahead and drop a little line in the chat and tell us why. Okay, this next transit is so exciting. I'm really looking forward to this one. So on 4/20 this year, Jupiter conjuncts Uranus. This is something that happens only once every 14 years, okay? So the last time this happened was in 2011. The next time it happens, it's not going to be to 2037. So we have a long time. So this is really exciting. This is actually a really positive alignment, really optimistic. Historically, it's coincided with scientific discoveries, art, culture, innovations in music. And remember, Jupiter is this planet that represents expansion and optimism and just makes everything larger than life. It's also the planet of luck and wealth. And then Uranus represents innovation and technology. So if we think about what's happened historically over time, the last times that Jupiter and Uranus were conjunct, well, quantum physics itself was invented or founded, I should say, when Jupiter and Uranus were conjunct in the early 20th century, 18th century. The French Revolution that happened under a Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. The 1968 to 69 counterculture movement happened when Jupiter and Uranus were conjunct. And again, like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, that's kind of when some people started saying that's when we first started entering the age of Aquarius, during that 1968, 1969 kind of hippie movement that happened. Apollo 11 and the moon landing happened during a period of time when Jupiter was conjunct Uranus. And then also Johann Kepler, one of the founding fathers of astronomy and astrology, he invented some major scientific discoveries the last time that Jupiter and Uranus were conjunct during his lifetime. And this had a lot to do with tracking the elliptical movement of the planets. And he invented the laws of planetary motion. And that is something personally that I love, the fact that back in the day, anyone that was an astronomer was also an astrologer. They were pretty much the same thing. These were the people that were tracking the planets' movements in the sky and letting us know how they impacted our life here on Earth. So some major themes that we might be seeing this April with Jupiter conjunct Uranus. Sudden discoveries in science, music, anything innovative like that. Almost kind of like the meshing of art and science and culture there. Because this is happening in the sign of Taurus, we might be seeing innovations related to food, to soil, to the earth. Maybe a new type of food is invented, or we are just getting more food technology as far as trying to make the plant yields even higher, for instance, to give more food to people that are in food scarce areas and things like that, soil science and things like that. We might be seeing that progressing. Even if you think about things like the Impossible Burger or these like plant-based foods, we might be seeing some more of that coming out this April. AI and material science. I just heard something about Google just came out with some report that said that they use AI to create like 800 new types of never before seen materials on Earth. Something crazy like that. This is the kind of thing we're going to keep seeing. So maybe a big announcement like that is going to come out under this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Anything to do with like batteries, computer chips, solar cells, increased technology around things like renewables or electric vehicles. These are all things that can occur under this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Anything that has to do with alchemy and anything that really has to do with like futuristic and earthy vibes kind of coming together at the same time. Personally, I'm super excited for this. I'm sure that's going to be a super fun day. So if you remember this on 4/20 this year, it's a big day. Jupiter and Uranus are conjunct. So I hope you have an amazing Earth Day this year. And I hope that you just totally love this energy as you are channeling it. Okay. Jupiter enters Gemini May 5th of this year to June 9th of 2025. This is another big transit and change, okay? Jupiter changes signs pretty much once every year. Jupiter's been in Taurus for the last year. It's moving into Gemini. What does that mean? Okay, so Jupiter has been in the earthy, sensual sign of Taurus, okay? It's moving into the sign of Gemini, airy and communicative. What are some major themes that we can expect there? Mental expansion is a big one. People might find themselves being super excited to learn new skills, sign up for that new course, find that new coach or mentor, sign up for that retreat, anything that has to do with groups. Gemini is a very social energy. It's all about communicating with others, more writing, more books, more learning. Any of this stuff you might see really exploding under the Jupiter and Gemini era that we are about to enter. This is so good, I predict, for like online coaches. Gemini is also kind of an online archetype. And so like if you have teach a course online, if you're running retreats, either online, in person, this could be amazing, amazing energy to support that for the next year or so. This is also very quick, exciting, energizing energy. We might all feel like we're on a bit of a sugar high for the next year and during some parts where Jupiter is being triggered. And then we should expect a major expansion in communications. I could even see this like a new social platform taking off. You know, we've got the TikTok and the Instagram and the YouTube and the Facebook, maybe a new social platform that is not too big right now, like totally explodes under this Jupiter and Gemini energy. I could really see something like that occurring. So that's definitely another trend to watch out for. And then Q3 for 2024. The major thing I see is one planetary transit. And really, this is the Pisces full moon eclipse on September 17th. Okay. So again, this is a Pisces full moon eclipse happening in September. The fact that there's not much going on necessarily in July or August for Q3, that to me tells me that maybe as a collective, we're going to be taking a deep sigh. We're going to have most of the summer to just kind of relax and not be thrown about by the planetary energy so much. We get a bit of a break and all the big changes and the big transitions, and we just get to chill over summer until we have this Pisces full moon eclipse in September. That's my prediction. We'll see what happens. I hope so. Okay. So let's talk about what this Pisces full moon eclipse means. So Pisces full moon in general, they can be very emotional times. It's something that I've tended to notice in my personal life and with friends and then with clients. Whenever there's a Pisces full moon, people have we'll call them emotional breakthroughs. Okay. Sometimes there's a lot of tears, a lot of crying, but a lot of breakthroughs and a lot of realizations and a lot of like really inner healing and things like that can happen. You add an eclipse to that, emotions are going to be on overdrive. So honestly, I know for me, I'm going to look at these dates on my calendar and completely block them out. I'm not doing anything under this Pisces full moon eclipse. And I'm going to make sure I've got some tissues nearby and my favorite shows ready to go on Netflix and my favorite tub of ice cream because it might be a bit emotional, but that's okay. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need to have those emotional releases where we get some things out so we can move and transmute into the next level of our lives. This Pisces full moon is asking us to do that and was asking us to let go of all the emotional baggage of Q1 and Q2 of the year. We're moving into the second part of the year, and this Pisces full moon is asking us to release, release, release. Okay. It's also in the North Node, though, so we are going to be bringing in some unexpected opportunities as well that may deal with some of the Pisces themes in our lives. What are those? Idealism is a very Pisces archetype. Imagination, beauty, glamour, spirituality. All of these themes might be at an all-time high this September as we're building up to the culmination of this Pisces full moon eclipse. Escapism might be at an all-time high. And also just coming from a value perspective, society doesn't tend to place a high value on things like escapism or illusion, but there's a meaning and a place for these things in our lives. And if this is a time, that week, you just kind of, you might write a bunch of dreamy poetry or spend time with your loved ones and your friends and just not have a lot of time for like serious chores and like your to-do list. And instead you spend time making music, going to live shows, dancing, making love. This is what you're going to want to do under the Pisces full moon eclipse. This is not a time for like report deadlines or to-do lists or like being super structured. This is kind of a time to like let your inner spirit play, let your inner child play. This is what you're really going to be wanting under this Pisces full moon eclipse. You're almost going to be running away from your obligations, possibly in some ways, and really leaning into the dreaminess of your inner world. This is also an amazing time to journal about your dreams. Pisces is really good for dream work and getting messages from the subtle realms. So this is a great time also to work with subtle energy, to do Reiki, to get a massage, to channel spirit, to channel your ancestors, to speak to your guides, any of that very ethereal, very spiritual stuff. This is going to be at an all-time gorgeous high during the Pisces full moon. I mean, you might even find out that you're psychic under the Pisces full moon eclipse. Some stuff like that could be going on. You could get some messages, some downloads that you really needed to hear. So this is also going to be a super exciting energy, hard and gentle at the same time, just depending on how you deal with Pisces energy. And then finally, we are in Q4 of 2024. We made it. We're going to be talking about the Libra new moon eclipse on October 2nd, and then Mars retrograde, which is ending out the year with us and taking us into 2025. Okay, let's talk about the Libra new moon eclipse on October 2nd. Like I said before, eclipses always happen in pairs. We just talked about the Pisces eclipse. Now we have the new moon eclipse on October 2nd in Libra. And remember, we had that first Libra eclipse back in March of 2024. So we're going to be seeing some similar themes like we saw before, releasing old relationship patterns, maybe letting go of some friendships that are no longer serving us, maybe letting go of the people pleasing and things like that. That can also be another theme, a recurring theme that comes up again during this second Libra eclipse of the year occurring in October. This could also be some contemplations on things like beauty and things like that. Venus rules the sign of Libra. Libra has a lot to do with art and beauty and balance. And so we might be letting go of maybe beauty ideals or the way we feel about our body or the way that we look or Things like that could also be a theme that may come up for you, just depending on what's going on in your life. Again, I see this as a softer energy. Libra tends to be a softer energy. That said, the fact that this is the second Libra eclipse of the year, it's almost like the first eclipse of the year, the Libra eclipse, cleared us out in some way, was releasing some things. And then this second eclipse is coming over that same part of our lives one more time to do the final clearing. And if you're starting to see some trends already for this year, we have some of that Aries energy from the other eclipse, which is all about figuring out what you want and what's going to make you happy. And then this Libra eclipse is there to figure out where you need to change how you're relating to other people, again, for your own happiness. So this is kind of a big theme for 2024, figuring out what we really want versus maybe the ideas of external pressure or the obligations that we have from others, and separating that from who we truly are and what we really want to build in our lives. And then the final transit that we're going to be talking about is this Mars retrograde in Leo and Cancer, December 6th to February 24th, 2025. Again, this is the last major planetary transit of 2024 that's taking us all the way into February 2025. And what is this about? We just talked about the Libra eclipse, maybe releasing old relationship patterns, getting rid of people pleasing, figuring out what we really want. And now this Mars retrograde is an exploration of our relationship with things like anger, ambition, and aggression. Okay. Mars is the warrior. Mars is ambitious and fiery and focused and wants to get things done, wants to go after things. Mars is the masculine principle that we all have somewhere in our charts. And when Mars goes retrograde, meaning seemingly backwards in the sky, Mars is having to review its relationship with these things like anger or ambition or drive or aggression. Also, the fact that Mars begins in the sign of Leo, that's going to be opposite, again, that Pluto that just moved into Aquarius. So there's going to be some major things. Mars opposite Pluto is an extremely explosive type of transit because you have Mars, the planet of drive, ambition, war, aggression, across from the planet of power and transformation. Okay. So this is really a theme of like how we're transforming ourselves through our own sense of power, or perhaps our own sense of lacking power, depending on what our relationship with power looks like. That might be a major theme that we're thinking about as a collective as we move it to 2025, is how powerful do we feel as an individual? How powerful do we feel as a collective? What is going on in our lives? And so again, some major themes, investigating patterns of maybe you suppress your anger. Maybe you don't find a way to really express it in a healthy way. And maybe that's top of mind at the end of the year. Maybe we are reevaluating our ambition. Maybe we spent all year going after these goals and trying to hit these, financial marks and trying to do all these things and get clients and whatever. And then maybe at the end of the year, we sit back and we reevaluate, again, retrograde, you review, you reevaluate, you readjust, and maybe you readjust what your ambition looks like. And maybe you adjust what drives you or what motivates you. Maybe the financial things don't motivate you as much anymore, or maybe they motivate you more than ever. Who knows? Everyone's relationship to this is all going to be so personal and unique to them. And then again, activation of our own personal power, possibly through challenges. So there we go, everyone. This was so much fun. I loved going through the astrological transits of 2024 with you. I'd love for you to comment below and talk about, what really stands out to you. What are some transits that you're really looking forward to? What are some transits you might be a bit more apprehensive about? And how do you feel about 2024? Is it a year that you're excited for? I know that I am. And again, I feel like 2024 is going to be such a different year than the past few years have been. And I'm really, really excited to see how that all pans out. Mwah, I love you so much. Thank you. And I will see you next time. Bye.